are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. We do plan to do a mailbag episode or multiple mailbag episodes at some point. So send us your questions, comments, and concerns regarding Rays baseball. Yes, Ulises.
Kevin, I have a question. Is Wander Franco going to get signed? An extension?
That will be a subject we will discuss on Friday.
Oh, God. So I'm going to have to wait one more day to talk about Wander Franco. Okay, fine.
Perhaps.
Fine.
Bigger news, not bigger news, but what I think is kind of interesting.
Okay.
I put it out on Twitter, and we do have another player review today. So lock in, folks. We got Kevin Kiermaier that we have to discuss. But before we get to that, did you hear the news about Dietrich Endings?
I did. I did hear about that. Good for him. Getting that moolah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He will be going overseas. We don't know which Asian country, whether it's going to be Taiwan, Korea, or Japan, but he will no longer be with the Rays. And when I read the article and report from Mark Topkin, I thought that this is a genius move by the Rays.
I mean, again, you did tweet it out, and after a couple hours, I was like, "Oh, that's what he was referring to." New market inefficiency.
Yes.
You need to clear a spot. Sure. You want to earn more money, Dietrich Endings? You don't want to go into buses throughout AAA and be uncomfortable. Yeah. How about that?
It's I think a win-win-win-win. First off, it's not like, oh, the Rays are just sending him to another country. He and his agent have to accept that role and that job if they choose to do that. But again, if he's going to make significantly more money, even for just a year or two, make that bread. You were pitching an independent ball not too long ago. So I think wherever the opportunity presents itself, Timbuktu, he will go there to throw baseballs for a living. But of course, it opens up the 40-man spot that they want to in advance of the Rule 5 draft. The Rays will also get compensated for this from one of the Asian clubs that reached out to them originally. And the way I also look at this, Dietrich Endings, because he was out of options, the Rays could have either kept him in the majors or exposed him to waivers. Who knows what could have happened with that. But Dietrich Endings can't come back and bite the Rays in the butt, at least for this year. He can't be on the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Blue Jays or a National League team or any other American League team. He can't beat them. He can't beat the Rays playing in Japan or Taiwan or Korea or wherever it may be.
So what you're saying is he can't be the Joey Ricard of the Orioles. He can't be the Tim Beckham of the
Cole
Orioles.
Sulser,
the Elliott Johnson of the Royals, for God's sakes. Look, I think it's a win-win. I mean, the Rays clear a spot, like you said. They're going to get something from it, probably money.
Yes.
Most likely money. A handful of money that probably is going to be helpful for arbitration purposes. And better than that, I think it's great for Dietrich Endings to not have to deal with that shuffle up and down, or even if it's not the shuffle, just the uncertainty of being in limbo, man. Like these guys, look, I like Dietrich Endings. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of him in a Rays uniform, but overall, fantastic.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Look, I think in his role with the Rays, he did his job. He exceeded expectations with that fastball that he rides to the top of the zone and used the cutter off of that. And quite frankly, I thought that they might have gone to somebody else if they had to clear a 40-man spot before they got to Dietrich Endings. But when I look at the 40-man roster as of today, they do have quite a few other lefties that they have at their disposal. Fleming, McClanahan, McKay, Poche, Springs, Yarbrough, Beeks. I mean, that's a lot of guys that they have that they could utilize.
I talked about being DFA, being the Hunter Renfroe and Corey asked. Could they do the same? Like, could Korea come calling home? And
again, this is the market inefficiency. If there's a guy that the Rays that the Rays want to get off their hands, call another country. Call one of the Asian clubs and see if you can clear that spot. Get some money in return, and G-Man Choi can't hurt you playing in another country. And you know what? It might be we scratch your back, you scratch ours. If there's a player that wants to do the MLB, maybe you get the inside scoop of what's this guy all about.
Yep.
You know, maybe the next Yoshi Tsutsugo or a better version of Yoshi Tsutsugo comes along.
And you're talking coming home to Korea where he already trains in the off season. I've seen his videos on Instagram. He's training there. Look, this is a guy who had an 842 OPS against right-handers. He can do some damage. And in a level of playing that's just below MLB, I mean, he could really become something. And I don't think he's actually ever played in the KBO. I don't actually. I mean, somebody can check me on that, but I believe he hasn't played in the KBO. So it would be like, hey, you want to come home for a couple years and do some damage? I mean, I'm sure that he would rather stay in MLB. But if the threat of DFAing is there, this could be the new market. Again,
it's not a huge thing, but it's a little thing that they can tap into.
Hey, why not, man? You have to find the little loopholes that these laws give you, right? I mean, if you're important, you're going to be like, well, if I do that, I can get away with it. Right. Hey, it's in the law. I mean, it sucks, but change the law. You know, if they shouldn't be getting away with this, then change it. Yeah. And I don't think MLB is the type of institution / every other big institution that goes, oh, let's change laws every day. No. Right. No, they're going to be there for a while.
And the Rays will take advantage, as we saw with Lewis Head. If we can send you down to Durham 12 times,
we will do that.
Yeah.
Why not? We will utilize our depth to our strength because nobody else has the depth that the Rays had. They've shown that in 2020. They showed that in 2021. Hopefully they show it in 2022. But no, this is again win-win situation for Dietrich and his family. And I'm not sure if I believe he is married. I don't know if he has kids. So. But if he did have kids, what a troll situation to be a part of and have your kids being raised in another completely different part of the world that they can take that experience with them for the rest of their lives.
Although if I had to guess, a majority of the American-born players that go overseas, they probably just go there and they leave the family back home. I'm not saying they won't visit on occasion.
Sure. I don't know,
I guess summer break, you could go over there. But.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that would be just such a cool thing. But I think you're right. Maybe the majority of them just go by themselves, which I don't know. I think it's a shame.
Yeah. One more point. So the Rays 40-man is down to, what is it, 37, 38?
37, sir.
37. So they got rid of Brasso, Head, and who is the other guy? Or is that all of them?
That's it.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
I'm not a...
40 minus 3, 37.
Wow. There's that USF economics degree coming in handy. I need to turn that thing back in. Oh, my goodness. Holy cow.
Hey, it's okay. It's 5 p.m., man. We're fresh off work. We gotta clear that off.
Question off of that. Do the Rays go lower? Do they drop another guy to get to 36, 2 guys to get to 35, or this is set and we're going to see 3 players added to the 40-man in protection of the Rule 5?
Boy, that is a good question, bud, because I had it the other day that I wanted to protect 4 guys: Tobias Myers, Blake Hunt, Ford Proctor, and Tommy Romero. So we're almost there. We're almost there to what I would be happy with protecting those 4 guys. It could be that G-Man is the DFA candidate, and then you have your 4 spots. I do think that they're going to go lower. I do think so. Yes.
Okay. No, they're running out of time.
What? Hey, 24 hours to go, people. 24 hours to go. Maybe even less once you hear this episode.
Very good point. Okay, we will get to our Kevin Kiermaier player review, but first we've got to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is back and better than ever before. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Be sure to head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use their promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON. Again, LOCKEDON to receive that 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, it is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on every one of your favorite sports. It is where the game starts. All right, Ulises, getting into the player review of Kevin Kiermaier. We discuss what went right, what went wrong, the player's future with the team, and a grade for that player. So, Kevin Kiermaier, what went right with him?
Well, let's start with the big picture like we always do. That slash line of 259, 328 on base, 388 slugging for a 716 OPS. He had 4 home runs. He stayed relatively healthy this year. 37 RBIs, 9 stolen bases. Where do we go from here? The first thing I want to say about Kevin Kiermaier in 2021, the defense still plays.
Oh, yeah.
It is still impressive. Again, he was a nominee for the Gold Glove. I think Michael A. Taylor got him the edge on that one, but he still had an argument to be made. He's in the 97th percentile in outs above average, 98th percentile in outfielder jump, and 95th percentile in sprint speed. That is impressive. That still plays, and that still plays very well. As you can see, that his F4 was actually a 2.5. So that is a starter in any team, Kevin.
Yeah, and his B-WAR was actually 3.4, so they gave him a bump up. But I thought while he didn't win a Gold Glove, I thought his defense was as good as we've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Particularly, and maybe this is some recency bias, but in the playoffs, like how many great highlight-worthy plays did he make? The one that consistently stands out to me is nabbing Alex Verdugo at third after making a catch away from the bag in right center and still, throwing a 90-mile-per-hour rocket one hopper that is in perfect placement for Yandy Diaz to make the tag.
It was impressive. And at the time of the game, the high leverage situation after a Wander Franco error, and that gets a man in second with no outs. And that's the way that you ended the inning with that double play. Fantastic. Look, that's a guy, Kevin Kiermaier has shown that he does not shy away from the big lights. No. And that doesn't mean that he's going to go, 3 for 3 every night with the bat. But what he does best is 2 things. Number one, the glove and defensive work, it shines in the postseason. Right. He doesn't make fluffs out there. And number 2, he's clutch. We've talked about Kevin Kiermaier. Yeah, the numbers usually are not there, but he has that clutch gene. I don't care. Look, put the analytics away with that. The clutch thing doesn't exist. I like analytics. Yeah. I think they help the baseball world understand this game that we love. Analytics help, but don't come around here telling me that that clutch doesn't exist. Because if you tell me clutch doesn't exist, I'll show you Brendan Lau. Whoops. Boy.
Yeah. And honestly, Kevin Kiermaier probably and should have and could have won one of those playoff games for the Rays. You had that silly ground rule double.
Yeah, that was Kevin Kiermaier. Yeah. Look,
he had multiple doubles in the playoffs.
Yes, he did. And I know that the overall numbers in the playoffs might not shine through. Yeah. I think it was maybe even 220 at batting average. But again, that clutching, when did those hits come? His year with the bat, though, overall in 2020, wasn't bad at all. Kevin, that platoon numbers against the righties in 236 at-bats. Look at this slash line, 254, 328, a 407 slugging, 735 OPS.
Yeah.
That 735 OPS, those splits are better than Wander Franco's against righties. And they're only 0.15 points OPS wise, less than Randy Arozarena's.
Yeah.
He played just like you would want him to play against righties.
He had probably a much better offensive season than many of us probably expected coming in. We know that the power numbers weren't necessarily there, only 4 homers. I think one of those was an inside the park.
Yes,
actually,
yeah.
Believe it or not. But what KK really did well was he finished the year strong. The last couple months of the season, he hit 305 in August and 316 in September. Post All-Star break, combine it all, 286 with an 825 OPS. I think some of that may have been he was finally starting to feel healthy and feel himself after dealing with that quad strain at the start of the season. And I think he just got off to a slow start coming back from that and just wasn't really himself. In fact, I wasn't all that confident that KK was going to play as many games as he did or be available. I was like, this guy's already getting hurt in spring training. He's already 30 years old.
Yeah.
This is we're looking at another KK season where he plays 95 games, essentially. Yeah. But no, he did. And if you look at his approach, he changed things a little bit compared to previous years. I looked at some of the video, and he closed his stance a little bit more, and he brought his hands in and closer to his body. And I think, I'm not sure how much that changed him mechanically, but what you noticed is there was more of an effort or a focus to hit the ball the other way and to get some flare shots and some chip shots. And, a lefty throws a pitch down and away, he can maybe take it the other way at times. So there was a little bit more of that, which was nice to see from him. And we know he's never going to be, I don't think he's better off doing that than trying to pull everything and try to be a power guy. Trying to be Brandon Lau is not what you are.
Well, I think, number one, I do agree with you that the slow start probably had something to do with the injury. But I'll also say the adjustment towards becoming a guy that's not pulling everything also has to do with who's around him. Right. This was the best lineup ever for this franchise. This was the best lineup KK has ever played in, ever. So I think that kind of lowered the pressure that maybe he has felt to be, the face of the franchise. I have to be the guy with the big bop, even though I'm not that guy trying to do too much. He didn't do too much. And you talk about, the pulling effect when you go oppo, center, and pulling. This was his best year going up the middle. 44.3% of the time he went up the middle. That's the changing of the approach. That's not doing. Look, I'm this kind of hitter. I don't have to be Brandon Lau. He can have the home runs. Nelson Cruz can have the home runs. Randy Arozarena, Austin Meadows, they can do that. I'm here for something else. I'm here to get on base for them. I'm here to make some damage around the bases and make defenders kind of shaky. No, this was KK's best offensive year since 2017.
Pretty crazy. And I think you can look at it just generally more of a gap-to-gap focus from him, which was huge. Can I touch on, before we move on to some of the negatives with Kevin Kiermaier, just a couple things defensively? We mentioned the play in the playoffs, the Verdugo play, but I think one of the best plays that he made this season was the robbery of Lourdes Gurriel when Nick Anderson was pitching at Rogers Center. A 408-foot shot where how high is that wall at Rogers Center? 10 feet, 10 plus feet.
Something nuts.
It is massive.
Yeah.
And for him to have not only he was already playing somewhat shallow. So for him to have to back up all the way to the wall off a shot like that and to have the perfect jump in the perfect angle to make that catch, it was basically like he can definitely dunk. After seeing his leaps and his instincts on that play, that was amazing. And Nick Anderson, and that's not the first home run robbery we saw this season. Shane McClanahan is probably saying some thank yous to KK after the season as well. But it's plays like that really stand out to you. But even the little things like, he can make a shoestring catch look routine that really isn't routine.
Right.
And you mentioned his sprint speed and his athleticism, but when there is a base hit in the gap, being able to close that gap and prevent a
single to become a double.
Yes, exactly.
Keep a fast runner at first. Yes,
keeping Kike Hernandez at first instead of him getting to second or third, because you did track that ball and you stopped it and you threw it in quickly.
Excellent point, Kevin. It's not just the highway robbery and saving Nick Anderson so that Rays Nation is like, no, he had a clean inning. And we fooled ourselves into thinking that maybe Nick Anderson was back when he really wasn't. It's everything, that keeping guys on first base, maybe having fast guys not trust themselves and say, no, that's KK. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go for it. Or, still getting people like JD Martinez thinking that they can just go second to home on KK and then him nabbing them at home. That can also still happen. Yeah. So, no, overall, I think it was a really good year for KK. There are, of course, negatives that maybe we should point out, as well as his future with the team.
Mm-hmm. And we'll go ahead and go with what went wrong with KK, and then we'll get to his future with the team after the break. Can I just say this, and I'm going to put my cards on the table again. I've made fun of KK in the past, but here's my big highlight on what goes wrong and what is the problem with KK. He's got a little bit too much flair going on, if you will. He's a little bit too cool for school. We don't need multiple pairs of sunglasses. We don't need you spinning your glove on your fingertip like it's a basketball. We don't need you doing the weird thing when there's 2 outs.
I love it. I love the pointing and the 1 and the 2.
He goes a little overboard with it.
I know, but I love it. And I love the flipping, like if it was a basketball, the glove. I think it's cool. And you know what? He is a total ham. But he enjoys being the ham of the team. And you know what? If you're making $12 million on a team that doesn't pay anybody $12 million, you probably deserve to be the ham.
Yeah, go for it. But no, seriously, I think one of the problems with KK, and this has been something for a while, or really his entire career in the majors, is he's very swing happy. He swings at pretty much everything. I looked up the numbers and confirmed them. Among all outfielders with at least 350 plate appearances, he is 19th in swing percentage, 51.2%. That is not a good combination when you're not making a lot of great contact much of the time. His whiff percentage is 13th percentile. His barrel percentage is 13th percentile. His hard hit percentage is 27th percentile. His strikeout percentage is 23rd percentile. His chase rate is 30th percentile. A lot of blue on that Baseball Savant page, which is not a good thing, folks. But so he swings at a lot and he misses or doesn't make a lot of hard contact a lot. And let me say this, by the way, that reference I made about the outfielders. Do you know who's number 1 on that list of biggest free swingers, guys who swing the most?
No.
We talked about him earlier this week or last week. Former Ray, now with the Brewers. Well, no longer with the Brewers. He opted out of his contract. Avi Garcia.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
but different results, though.
Yeah, different results this year for sure. But here's where KK really gets burned. 2 strikes in the opposing pitcher, doesn't really matter if it's a righty or a lefty, gives him off speed or breaking balls below the zone. Slider, changeup, curveball. Most of the time, KK will swing over top of that thing. You give him a fastball a little bit more elevated, he'll lay off of it if it's a ball, but you throw him a breaker or an off speed down in the zone, he's swinging at that thing with 2 strikes.
Yeah, he is. And we talk. I like that you talk about the lack of contact. We talked with Wander Franco, the contact percentage, the percentage of times a batter makes contact swinging and it pitches outside the strike zone. That MLB average is at 62.4%. KK's is at 53.60%. That's almost 10 points below the average. So there are problems. Of course, you talk about the strikeouts at 25%, the strikeouts this year. I want to talk about a second interesting problem with KK this year, though. The caught stealing. 5 times he got caught stealing. He only had 9 stolen bases.
Yeah.
So that's not a good ratio to have. You're going to be successful 9 times. You're going to get caught 5 times. I don't want that, which is weird because his sprint speed is in the 95th percentile. And of course, just being fast does not mean that you're just going to be a good base runner.
Right.
That those two things don't have to be related, but it should help. And we've seen KK be a guy that can almost steal 20 bags. So it's always surprising to me to see a guy like KK get caught 5 times. I don't know if that's maybe trying to do too much, if that's maybe not picking his spots the right way, or just unfortunately getting, there are good catchers out there.
Right.
There are good pitchers out there that can hold the ball, that can do good pickoffs. So I don't know what it is, but the ratio was not good for KK this year.
Yeah, I'd have to look at all those plays and to look at the context of them, of when he ran and what was the circumstances of the game. But if we're just looking at those numbers, that's it all. And you would think that for a guy that is still maintains his athleticism, who knows, maybe he's getting some bad jumps. I don't know. But you would think that a guy who's been in the bigs this long, that number wouldn't be as high as it is. You get it if you're a rookie or a second-year player and you got all this speed and you just want to you want to challenge the opposing catcher and the opposing pitcher. But if you're not picking your spots at a great time at your age with your experience, and you've seen how much and played how much baseball, that's kind of a bad sign. Because he did have a 20+ steal season several years ago, and he was only caught 3 times. So that's not a good percentage whatsoever, for sure.
Which doesn't make sense, because now they have so much more data. They have departments just studying this stuff. So where's the disconnect? Because the disconnect is not coming from the department. The department has the right information.
Yeah.
So is he just not paying attention to that data? Did he just get caught because, they are not computers, the bad jumps? I don't know. Something happened there. But overall, I think if we take the whole big picture of 2020 of Kevin Kiermaier, it was a positive, Kevin. I think you should be happy for your Indiana boy.
Indiana boy, Kevin Kiermaier. Okay, so his future with the team. This is an interesting one. Now, we should acknowledge that Kiermaier did undergo knee surgery in November to address a small meniscus tear, although he should be ready for spring training. I think it's a relatively minor procedure, but bigger than that is the fact that KK is set to make $12 million this year. And we know how the Rays operate. And we also know that there is and continues to be a glut of outfielders. We have Randy, we have Brett Phillips, we have Manny Margot. At some point, you got to give Josh Lowe some opportunities. At some point, you got to give Vidal Brujan some opportunities. Austin Meadows is still out there, although he's probably on his way to at some point, which is funny because there are a lot of great KK plays, but there were some near collisions where the KK was like, get out of my way, Meadows. I don't want you anywhere near trying to miss or whiff on this ball. I will make this play, even though it's near impossible. There's like a 10%. There's like a 10% chance I can make this play, while Meadows has like a 60% chance of making the play. But no, KK is going to make that play.
That's funny you say that throw in the playoffs to get Verdugo. He did the same thing to Randy. Yeah. He's like, no, I got this.
We've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, the glut is a true thing. We've talked about it last week, the outfield being too crowded. Having said that, studying KK's 2021 in depth, though, dude.
Is he on the team? Is he going to be on the team in 2022?
I think so.
Race? Okay.
I think so. I don't think that, first of all, just think about how the Rays operate. Like, yes, they don't want big salaries on their budget. We know that. Yeah. But they also don't want to trade people that are not going to give them anything back. And I think when you look at the Longoria trade, which honestly, it had to happen, and it allowed for, cool signings to happen, like Charlie Morton to happen a year later. I don't see what you can get for KK unless you just tag on just people on people. Like what do you have to put on next to KK for somebody to give you something of value? A lot. And the second thing is like, well, you can trade KK for cash considerations or something like that. I just don't think the optics would look very good for Rays fandom to just give the face of the franchise of the last 7 years for a bag of potatoes. Like, I don't think so. And again, who is going to value what KK does better or than the Rays? The Rays are the only one that are going to see KK and see a net positive. I don't think a lot of clubs can see defense the way that the Rays do. I don't think a lot of teams will platoon as much as the Rays do. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded, but I'm leaning towards him staying. I think he's going to stay.
You know where I could see him going, actually?
Don't say the Mets.
The Red Sox. Don't the Red Sox need a center fielder? Well, don't they have Chaim Bloom in that front office? He knows a little something about KK.
He does.
He made a lot of great plays in Fenway Park.
You know what? I'll tell you this. I don't think that KK would go.
I don't know if he has a no trade clause.
No, but remember, even Longo didn't have a no trade clause, but they called him up when they were, getting ready to do talks, and they said to him, "Hey, your name is out there. Hey, is that Stu?
Stu, quit calling me. We're doing the show here." He's trying to hijack the pod. Yeah, that is Stu, actually. Crazy.
Look, they told him, "Look, we're shopping you, but we want to give you into a winning team." Obviously, the Giants weren't a winning team back then, but now they are. Yeah. I think that's the same conversation that would happen with KK. Like, hey, look, we're shopping you. These are some options.
Yeah. If you say no to this, here's a team in Korea that could use your services. Honestly, I don't know. I think he's going because, and this is something we're going to talk about tomorrow, but there's some contract extension scuttlebutt with Wander Franco. You're trying to collect as many shekels as you can. You've got Glass now that you got to work out and situate. I've made this point. I've reiterated it. It's going to be one or the other. Glass now is going to be on the roster and KK won't be, or KK will be and Glass now won't be for 2022 or within the organization because Glass now won't be healthy in 2022. But you get my point.
Right.
I think, so some other outfielder or outfielders have to go, correct?
Correct. No, 100%. Okay. So what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded, but I think the team's going to keep him. Now, I want to ask you the same thing.
Okay.
Would you be surprised if he stays?
I would be, yeah, because I think they're going to keep Glass now.
Okay,
I think they're going to keep Glass now and then clear off KK's salary and then open up a spot for Josh Lowe or somebody like that and move I think Brett Phillips and or Manny Margot into a timeshare in center field.
I think KK could be a valuable trade piece in the trade deadline of next year, July. I see that happening to give Josh Lowe. It's the same Adenia Chavarria thing. It's the same Willy Adames. Like, give him half the season with the team and then shop him out in the middle of the season, and boom, Josh Lowe becomes
the Rays got a pretty decent prospect for Mike Brasso. So
yes, they did.
They might be able to get a little bit more than we expect.
When do you think he's going to be more valuable? Right now or after showing up after a couple of months? I still think that even if his bat is below average and he's still showing up defensively, I think somebody gets hurt with the Boston Red Sox or with another team or whatever.
Right.
He might have a little bit more trade value than
that's now. Assuming KK is able to stay healthy midway
through
the season. I would think that there would be desperation mode. I don't think you'd get as much because other teams would see that the Rays are not going to pick up his option for 2023. They're just trying to ship him off whatsoever. But
there's a buyout. There's the buyout's only like less than $3 million. So any other team can just sneeze at that. Yeah. Sure, we'll take $3 million. That's nothing for us. I like this.
Okay.
I like when we're not on the same page.
We might have to put an early prop bet on it.
Oh my goodness, we haven't even had our prop bet 2021 episode. Which that should be coming.
Yeah, that
soon.
Should be coming within the next week or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move along here with KK. His grade for 2021. You want me to start?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. I'm going to give him a solid B. I'm going to give him an 85. He played more games than I expected. He had a higher batting average than I expected. You look at the WAR, you look at the metrics, and I just look at what my expectations were for him coming into the year, and he exceeded expectations. He wasn't an all-star or anything like that. It wasn't a career year by any means, but it was pretty darn high up on the list of KK. We've seen a lot worse KK season. So I was And it started slow, but he came on the last couple months of the season. So I'm giving him a B. I'm giving him a deserved B, in my opinion.
Hasn't had this high of an OPS and a good offensive year since 2017. He was actually above average when you take WRC plus into account 101. He was above average, though by a hair.
No, that's the thing, because center fielders, there's not a lot of great offensive center fielders. In fact, I think his numbers overall are above average. I mean, like you said, but the average center fielder, they're not putting together, 25, 30 homer seasons betting 270. They're just not.
I'm telling you. So we are on the same page.
Okay.
I actually have him an 85. So good for KK. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded.
Yeah.
I think they're going to keep him.
Quick over under here. Steamer projections, 120 games for KK in 2022.
Less.
Home runs, 10.
Less.
Over under. Batting average, 232.
Over.
Okay. WAR, 1.7.
Over.
Okay, fair enough. All right. That's our KK player review. He can take that grade and put it on his refrigerator.
He'll probably throw it away. He's like, oh, these guys suck.
No, I think KK likes us. He listens every day. I've heard the
KK,
rumors.
thank you so much.
Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Bets podcast. That is free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow
about Wander Franco maybe extended with the Rays. What is this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And maybe some Roll 5 stuff, some baseball trivia. We should have a fun, to put it mildly, we should have another fun Friday show.
Yes.
So be sure you stay tuned for that. All right. Talk to you later.